much. And hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great day at the event. Unbelievable that it's even running. Just as a kickoff for fun, that is me sitting in the audience last year. So yes, I was a member at the event, thought it was a great event. And of course, as a result, we're sponsoring this year, along with some other great sponsors, ScriptRunner, Proximo, Redspire, Agilysys, and Hitachi. So yes, again, I'm Martin Doyle. I'm founder and CEO at DQ Global. We've been doing this data quality improvement gig for over 25 years now, having started off implementing CRM systems. By all means, contact me at any time. And we look forward to talking to you today about 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to introduce ourselves a bit more, talk about the concept of the Dataverse and the Power Platform ecosystem, the data feeds in and out of the Dataverse, the ways to tackle the data quality challenges with the Dataverse and some of the implications of those, compare the difference between your polluted data ecosystem versus a healthy one, and yeah, hopefully that will cover the subjects. You know, no company has the same ecosystem. They all have different ways of dealing with data. And data management is a challenge for everybody in this world. So, who are we? We're a business, we're a technology company empowering organizations worldwide to achieve more with their customer data. We help organizations who are frustrated with, confused, and generally fed up or overwhelmed with the task of dealing with low quality data that's hampering them from success. So our goal is to help customers make their data fit for use, and ensure the business decisions that are made based upon data is trustworthy. So that's the foundation of of our thinking. So what is the Dataverse? We're talking today about the quality of data in the Dataverse and how we manage and assist with that. Well, the Dataverse is a way of unifying data from different data sources. It provides a way of accessing data, processing it through what was the common data service, common data model, now, of course, the Dataverse. And remember, it's called the Dataverse, not the information verse or the insight verse, it's the Dataverse. And I'm sure many of us will remember when it was data processing as opposed to information technology, etc. So it's always been about the data, always will be about the data in our world. I guess we're a little bit biased, but the Dataverse is basically a way to store and manage your data and use it across your business applications. It allows you to unify data, which is fantastic, and it sets up a base of standard tables that allows us to communicate in a common language. So it's a really interesting, exciting way to stitch together your ecosystem and build, rich applications that use the data that's stored within it. So around Dataverse and data quality, the statement is that Dataverse lets you securely store and manage data that's used by business applications. So how do we see that? We think that there's more than just the storage of the data, it's about the content. Now, if you're cooking a meal, you have to have high quality content. If you're running a car, you don't put diesel in a petrol car and expect it to run well. So why do we expect to put poor quality fuel in our universe of data and expect it to run well? So Andrew Welsh and Lee Baker very kindly put together a great article. You can see the link there at the bottom left of the slide, visualizing how this Power Platform and architecture comes together, which has been really useful, I think, for us to illustrate the entry points for this data. Never before has data been so connected and flowing through all parts of the business. Data is collected, used, managed, generated in incredible amounts, as we all know these days. It starts with data collection, with then data sources, ingestion, storage, analysis, and visualization. And we're going to be taking a look at those today and how data is managed in each of those phases. So starting on the left-hand side, we've got the data collection. We will be moving around to other data sources. Now, data collection at the top is normally about human entry through the applications at that point. The data sources aspect is generally machine data, perhaps coming in a more automated fashion. The ingestion is more to do with data in flight, whereas the previous two are, of course, at point of entry, where it's great to prevent data defects rather than after they've been ingested to work on them then. And finally, we've got data at rest, and then we've got the visualization parts and the analysis parts that are utilizing that data at rest to get informed insights, make better decisions, hopefully, and drive the company forward, supporting the customers and basically increasing the value of the business and the services that you provide for your customers. So in this ecosystem, we do have Power Apps, virtual agents, etc. So what can we do to help in this world? Well, at this point, we want to prevent bad data entering the system. And there's kind of a 1-10-100 principle, where prevention, as we know, is always better than cure. And whilst it might cost you £1 at this point, at capture and prevention stages, it's going to cost you either 10 or 100 down the line, which I'll try and point out along the way. So the Power Apps component framework has been developed by Microsoft to allow us to create components in a model-driven app and provide enhanced user experiences, which allows us to assist people, make life easy, create forms, dashboards, etc. And we've built some PCF controls that help on the data entry front. How do they look? Well, here's an example of a simple one. It's an address search field. This will allow you to search for over 240 countries and principalities around the world, return addresses into your application, and drop them into any of your applications through the PCFs, and of course, populate your data. So immediately cutting down keystrokes, increasing the accuracy of the data collection, helping with deduplication and formatting of your data. So I think at that level, a very important piece. Now, not showing these here today, but we also have them dealing with other important entities like phones, emails, and websites, where you might simply validate for the syntax. So does it look like a phone, an email, or a website? Very simple. And there's obviously integrated capabilities at the moment. But further than that, to format, maybe to format the telephone to an international standard or a local standard, even conditionally, depending on whether you're using outbound calls. It's great for inbound screen popping because you now have data in a correct format. The emails might be verified, checked against reference data as a proxy for the real world lookup, or better still, at the bottom of our stack, authenticated. Now, authentication means literally line testing. Will that number ring, or will that email deliver without actually ringing the number or delivering the email? So it's critical to ensuring that you have success with your inbound, outbound, cross-functional marketing activities. And what do we do these on? Well, entities, companies, contacts, leads, addresses, and use cases might be anti-money laundering, suppression of deceased data, people that move, people that prefer state of preference on reference lists not to be contacted, like telephone preference service here in the UK, for instance. KYC in the banking world, know your customer at point of entry, ensuring that these aren't politically exposed people, for identity resolution, and of course, duplicate detection, identifying duplicates and ensuring you do have a single customer view, and you can therefore master your data and add additional data, firmographics, demographics, geographics, etc. So a whole raft of capabilities allowing to enrich, suppress, dedupe, master, verify, acquire, etc., etc. So very rich capabilities. So let's have a look here at what we're actually going to be launching very, very soon. We have a new capability that allows you to access 550 million, yes, 550 million professional, social, and consumer contacts. So those records are going to be free at company level. We're going to allow you to access 550 million records, or the company records of those 550 million contacts, for free to add information about employee ranges, revenue ranges, industry classifications, and social profile information about those organizations. So hopefully you'll be talking to us soon about adding RPCF controls into your world and allowing access to company data, as well as additionally the contact data for use for your marketing activities. So here's an example. We're going to use Microsoft, obviously, as a simple example here. And I've searched for Microsoft. I've gone out to our 550 million. I've brought back the new values that I didn't have in relation to Microsoft, highlighted in yellow here. And I'm now going to update my record. And that will update directly back into the account form. Additionally, now we've shown it in an additional info tab here, but each one of these attributes that you see here is available individually to be written back to your database in any entity that you might be working with. So this is going to work with leads, accounts, contacts, of course. Now, here's an example of my record being updated. So similarly, like a company, we're updating a contact record. And again, you can see the old value and the new value being shown there so that we can update missing attributes to that new value and additional data on the tab there. As I say, each of these fields are available independently, and you can write them back to the attributes in your business applications, in this case, Dynamics 365 CE. So here's a final example, Microsoft calling out to a record called Martin. We don't know anything else at this point. We know that we're going to go out to the application and bringing back multiple choices for this record. We can see the masked email, title, and phone. And when I select that record, get additional information, it will charge a credit for contacts only. Just seen a typo in the header there. Charge for contacts only, and at that point, you'll be debited from the system. So how do we serve up this data? Well, we are now launching DQ credits. So DQ credits allow you to purchase credits in advance and spend them however you like on our products. And you'll be able to, through the ecosystem here, spend them when you're fixing data at source, when it's in flight, or when it's at rest in the Dataverse. Now, I'm talking about the Dataverse here, which could be a direct connection, but of course, when you're talking to CE and other biz apps, you are really talking to the Dataverse underneath. So, what can you spend these credits on? We can spend them on any of these services that you're seeing here through our DQ on Demand service platform, which is accessible from our products or directly as an API for you to access. And you can see, I won't go around these one by one, but you can see that there's a whole raft of possibilities here. And these are some of our data partners allowing you to enrich data, to verify addresses worldwide, to authenticate emails, to suppress deceased data. And we're also now launching a deceased service where you'll be able to en masse go and search for over 100 million records that we have of identified, deceased, gone away, or new location addresses that you can then improve the quality of your database and ensure you don't offend people as you go through. So, data capture. We saw at one stage the data capture side. So this is that 110, 100 starting point where it's much better to prevent than cure. And at this point, let's pretend it's cost £1. There is a big study actually done on this, and those are the ratios of costs. Point of capture, PCF controls, checking reference data, and of course process controls as well. When it comes to data in flight, then similarly, where we're dealing with the data factory or the event grids where event changes are going on and we're monitoring changes, a couple of ways we can deal with this, one of which is through our DQ Studio technology. And the DQ Studio technology allows us to connect to the Dataverse, Azure, business applications, CE, F&O, BC, etc., etc. So a whole raft of applications through our connectors, which are all reaching out to the DQ on-demand service as well that we pointed out in the previous slide. So this is a data migration, data integration, data rules engine that allows us to master data as well for matching and mastering of data being used in many locations around the world on Microsoft CRM applications specifically. And I'm just trying to think of other Azure type scenarios. There are many. Okay, so what can we do when we're in flight? I mentioned before, validate, format, authenticate, enrich, suppress, search for data, and operate on those things that we commonly deal with: phones, emails, locations, companies, employees. Sorry. And why is it important to fix all those things? Well, we want to fix them, of course, because it improves the quality of the data that we have in our base system. It allows us to build, turn that into information, turn that into knowledge, turn that into insight that can be usefully used by the organization to increase its revenues, reduce cost, and mitigate risk. Now, here is another example of a suite of capabilities that help us to deal with data in flight. This is an example of well, in a moment will be an example of a hospitality system where it's integrated with 365 CE in an enterprise service bus architecture where we use a suite of APIs. We have a cleansing API that is designed to do exactly what it says on the tin, cleanse records that are passed to it. Now, these are records, not fields. These are JSON objects that are passed to us where we are told to validate, format, standardize, deduplicate attributes and related entities that come to us with that object. The next one is a searching API that allows us to search into, in this case, the CRM target. It could be many targets simultaneously, but in this case, the CRM target, to see whether we can find a record that already exists in the system from another system that is sending us this object. And then once we've found that, we then score the records. If it's appropriate to do so, we then master the data. By mastering, I mean selecting the best record from the set, identifying which field should be populated by rules that are definable by the customer. Every one of these is metadata driven, so it is very low code scenario. Then you may choose to review those records if we don't have certainty that they either are a duplicate or a non-duplicate, whether we either inserted or updated. And the DQ Sentry is monitoring for any changes to ensure that we know of changes, and we monitor our phonetic token generation to ensure that we can find matches when there is any other change event. And how did it work? Well, this is an Oracle hospitality system, so operating in the hospitality sector, where we worked with a database of over 4 million records. And first of all, we migrated those from the Oracle system into D365. And then, having migrated the data, we then integrated through an enterprise service bus, which in this case was MuleSoft. The MuleSoft APIs picked up the objects that were sent by Oracle and then sent them to our services. First of which I mentioned was cleanse, then search. That search then went to search into the system. Based upon logic, we then mastered that data, determining which values should be added to create a golden record. And if they should be reviewed, they were sent to the review API. And then, having been processed either automatically or manually through the review API, they went back to the enterprise service bus to be updated to the CRM system and other systems. So hopefully that paints a picture of how we can deal with data in flight with either our products or APIs. And again, this illustrates that ingestion scenario where we go around a circle of cleansing, searching, mastering, reviewing, and that review API that looks like this. And this is exactly the review API that's used in our DQ for Dynamics product within D365, which identifies duplicates and helps you manage and master your data in the system through manual or automated processes. So now we're talking about data at rest. So data at rest means the data that's in the Dataverse, which is pointing underneath that Dataverse to the data lake, the Cosmos DB, or blob storage. So more like a traditional database as far as everyone else is concerned. But by the time the data's got in here and we need to manage it, you're either in the £10 or 10 time multiple cost because you didn't fix it at the point of entry, or the 100 times cost because it's been used for some insight that might be false, that might have caused some customer distress. So in that scenario, again, deduplication, verification, suppression, etc., etc. So all the capabilities that we provide, and these can be done through a range of our products as well, those being listed here. So DQ360 APIs, the DQ Studio application, the migration integration technology, and working on those common entities, address, counts, contacts, leads, etc., to help with migrations, integrations, etc., etc. Okay, so back to that DQ on demand set of services. Again, just a quick recap on some of those partners that we work with, and taking us back to our solutions that can be used around this world. So we mentioned the PCF controls, appointed data capture. That's addressing, that's email, that's phone, that's the 550 million contacts that we can go out to, and that free business data that you'll be able to avail of. We've got also our DQ Studio product for data migration, data integration, calling out to our DQ on demand service to allow us to manage the data as it's managed in flight. We've got the API suite, the DQ360 API suite, allowing you to fulfill all those capabilities and orchestrate an architecture that really suits your business in the way that you want it to. And here we've got the ability to either use DQ Studio on the Dataverse, or we can use our DQ for Dynamics cleansing functionality, deduplication, mastering functionality in the system. And then over here, once we have clean data in the Dataverse, then you're able to use it for visualization, for management, identifying of true targets, and improve your marketing, support, service, etc. And then, as we just mentioned, that visualization then becomes much, much better, much, much trusted for visualization and analysis, utilizing the technologies that are available to you under this section. So, wanted to talk about some of the perils, perhaps very quickly, of where insights are drawn and they may not be correct. which might be as a result of bad data. They might be as a result of actions that have happened. So here was an example of one. Here was an insight that came where an insurance company decided that they were going to offer their funeral insurance, which seemed very sensible, to people over 67 years of age. They performed a direct mailing to over 100,000 targets, and the message said, "Don't let your family pay for your funeral," which is, an emotional driver. It makes sense. The response was phenomenal, but unfortunately, both good and bad. The mailing response was through the roof, the best they'd ever had. Unfortunately, they also had the most complaints ever. So the insult was to the people that received this direct mail, and the ones that complained said, "Well, what do you know that I don't know? Am I dying?" So they were insulted. So there was a kind of new insight here that they shouldn't in the future use direct mail, because directly mailing those people made them think that the sender knew something that they didn't, and that if they were to use TV ads, it would depersonalize it, and therefore they might have less offense but have the same kind of success. So that was an interesting insight that came out of operating on data. They didn't actually think of the final implication. Another one, which is interesting, was where insight was drawn, and they built a model to predict which shoppers were pregnant. So the message went out delivering coupons to baby clothes and cribs. It was a US-based scenario. And the response was an angry father because he had a daughter who was a student who was surely not pregnant. And why were they sending things to his household? Well, the insult was the invasion of privacy and the embarrassment all around this. But unbelievably, it turned out that the daughter was indeed pregnant, and the model was correct. I guess the new insight was be very careful about how you use your insights. So, never before has there been so much data flying around, so easily connected to a brilliant ecosystem in the Azure Power Platform. It's making app development easy. It's connecting business applications well. It's a fantastic solution and architecture. However, the data within it can be hampering us. If we're watching the television and we have a bad signal, we get a bad picture. If we have bad ingredients in our food, we get bad food. Bad fuel in our car, we get bad results. Bad radio signal, bad mobile phone signal, we get confusion. We get frustrated. So we implore you to focus upon the content as well as the container so that you will have success in your business. So I hope you found that informative and useful. Once again, my name is Martin Doyle. Please feel free to make contact at any time. My LinkedIn profile is there. The QR code is there. And I hope you've had a great summit, and I look forward to seeing everybody when we get back live. Thanks a lot, and take care.